Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today I wanted to have a little conversation about having an art-filled life, choosing an art-filled life. Now, I apologize, there's like shadows and stuff. I have both my desk lights on. It is very gray and dark outside because of the rain, but I want to put this quote up so you can see it. And this just pertains to like tangible things you can change. This is not about like core things, okay? Because you and I both know that there are some things that can't be changed. But this isn't one of those. This is about art and having art in your life and choosing to find ways to create art and have art and yep, that's going to be the topic for the day. So, I've done videos about making time to create and finding time, and a lot of that has to do with sort of writing down in time blocks initially how you spend your time so you can figure out sort of where there are areas that maybe have lulls, or I'm not talking about downtime and daydreaming time and relaxing time. Those are times, those are things we all need. We all need those in our life. We have to be realistic and realize that to fill our day up 100% with constant things, go, 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 is not healthy either. But like for me, for example, if you need an example, sometimes I waste a ton of time boredom scrolling on Instagram looking at stuff. And sometimes I'm looking for prompt lists, and sometimes I'm looking for interesting ideas to put in my stories. But a lot of time I'm just looking at animals, and some of that is relaxing time, but keeping track of that so it doesn't get away from me is very, very important. Can you tell what I'm drawing? Just by this, can you tell what I'm drawing? That would be spectacular, wouldn't it? So, figuring out where we have a little bit of extra time, or figuring out the times we feel the most creative or the most inspired, or when we realize, hey, I should have been drawing. What was I doing that entire time? Like, I get it. Everybody starts their day differently, and everybody, sets their alarm differently, gets out of bed differently. Some people, my husband has a natural alarm. We're going to use him as an example because he's so different than me. He has a natural alarm, and he's a morning person. So he's naturally out of bed around 6:37 every morning. He doesn't need to set an alarm. I think it's magic. I am not like this. I like the AM you stay up for, not the AM you wake up for. I don't know how he does it. He's always been this way. So he can just, rise and literally shine. And I've said it before, I rise and literally run into things. So I'm a very slow riser. I don't mean to be, but I am. I have lofty goals all the time of going to bed like a reasonable human, and then waking up like a reasonable human, and then I'm not a reasonable human. I know some folks like set their alarm and then hit snooze, and they have like a certain number of times that they snooze for, and that's part of their waking up, coming to terms with the day process. I am here for that as well. Like, that's a thing. I don't begrudge that. I don't judge that. That's how you do it. I lay in bed and try and think about things or nothing at all. Like, it's a good meditation time for me sometimes, just to wake up and sit there. I know, it's a whole thing, me trying to get out of bed, just because I'm not a morning person and I try real hard. And sometimes I just end up grabbing my phone, and that's where I end up scrolling a lot on Instagram and not making a better use of my time. Can you tell what I'm drawing now? Can you hear me now? So when I say living like an art-filled life or a life with more art, I mean, instead of me grabbing the phone, grabbing a sketchbook and starting my day doodling, and they don't have to be polished doodles. I know on YouTube and I know on Instagram, and I know I'm guilty of this as well, and I absolutely apologize, where everything is always polished. Everything always looks finished. Nothing's ever just rough sketches. And I plan on showing that more rough sketches, less polished things people pass over and don't care about because it's not eye-catching and it's not eye-grabbing. Doing more of those where there's no pressure, where you don't even show people if you don't want to. It's personal to you, and you keep that by your bed or under your pillow or however, you choose to set up your bed or where you sleep. And that's what you grab instead. And maybe from there you can start, sort of like a dream sketchbook of drawing the things you dream about. And that becomes something of interest to you. Or just ideas. You just start brain dumping first thing in the morning. Maybe you have a page where it's everything you can't get out of your brain, like your to-do list of everything that has to be done in the day, and that's just taking up all the bandwidth in your head and you can't think about anything else. So maybe you brain dump on one page, and the next page you just random doodle all the things that you wake up that make you laugh, that bring you joy, that make you smile. Your pets, your friends, your family, something you read, something you saw that you thought was interesting, an idea, dreams, goals, places. Having that in a space where you just sort of sit and think, and maybe it's one of those things where you stand in your kitchen and you pour yourself coffee and you kind of just sit there and sip your coffee and just sort of meditate on nothing. Having a sketchbook nearby can also be a great way to incorporate, just even if it's 5 minutes. 5 minutes every day for 365 days is a lot of minutes. That's a lot of time. And initially, when we think about things, we don't think about the overall huge picture. We just see the one day, like, I'm not feeling it today. You don't have to feel it today. Write on a page, I'm not feeling it today. And you can try that with a serif, a sans serif, in calligraphy. You can just draw an animal with its tongue sticking out saying, I hate Mondays. And maybe that gets you into a fun little comic book space where you have fun little creatures telling you how they feel about their day. There are so many things that can be done that we don't think about, like what an impact 5 minutes has on our skill level over time. 5 minutes can be very impactful. If you want to learn something new, if you want to incorporate more art in your life, and maybe you've come across this video out of context of my channel and you're not really interested in drawing or creating art, but you're interested in having more art in your life. There are places that print posters pretty cheap or more inexpensive, might be the better terminology for that. If you want to incorporate some art on your walls and just have art. And I have found that our large box sort of grocery store, ours is called Costco. If you live in another country, you might have a different one. You might not have things like this. There are places you look around. Shutterfly has 50% off coupons around this time of year. So if you did not get a Shutterfly catalog that had coupons attached to the front, call them up and say you want one. Say you want a catalog. Say you want coupons. You can follow them on Facebook. A lot of times they'll post when they have different sales and things. Obviously, the restrictions apply to certain products. But if you want to have art on your walls and you don't have a massive, massive budget, you can check different places. Again, check places online, follow their social networking, check their Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, look and see if they have coupon codes, if they have sales, if they have deals, if they do giveaways. You don't have to frame things necessarily. If you're getting like big, thick prints, I have on my wall, I have these push pins that have clips and that are fairly budget. And during the pandemic, I hung some art. I will throw up a picture. And I wasn't going anywhere. Everywhere was closed, and I wanted to support some folks. And I didn't have frames, so I did push pins that were clips. And that's a really, really budget way to hang art. Have some art on your walls. If you just want to look at art and you're on a tight budget, like I get travel is super pricey. I know it is. So if you want to go to museums and look at art, there are some museums online. I will link them in the description box. There are some wonderful museums that have taken really high quality, high resolution. Oh, I'm getting a text from our appliance company. Hello. There are some museums that have taken really high quality, high resolution pictures of their art, so you can look at it online and zoom in, like really zoom in and look at it. Some of them aren't in English. We're all just doing our best here, but you can look at art up close from famous museums, famous pieces of art. Can you tell what I'm drawing now? It feels so funny to say that. And I really love those museums for doing that. It's a great way if you want to learn how some of the, what they consider old masters, how some of them created art, how they underpainted certain things, how they positioned certain things for composition, how they directed the eye, how they did color theory, or just want art in your life, but you don't have the travel budget. That's okay. You can look at art online. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. I love that they've done that. I love that that's an option for people. Traveling is a privilege. It is very, very costly. Not everybody has the budget for it. I'm kind of going to reshape this a little bit. So, if you don't have the budget for it, that's okay. Again, I will link some of these places if you want to see some different art up close without having to leave your home. Now, you do need the internet. If you're watching this video, you have access to it, at least temporarily. There are public places and spaces that provide internet access. In the United States, where I live, the public libraries offer free internet access. There are some grocery stores where you can sit in the parking lot. There are some places. So some like facilities have them. Some gyms have them. Obviously you have to pay if you have a gym membership, but like the YMCA in some places, you can access certain things. There are parking lots where you don't have to go in, and sometimes they don't have a code, and you can access the internet. If you have internet access, you can get art in your life. You can. You absolutely can. Even if you have no money, if you're doing a low buy, if you're doing a no buy, if you're like, Kendra, I'm not spending any money, you can still look online. You can virtual tour a lot of museums, like you're walking around this place. Like if you want to see a museum in a different country and you're not traveling right now, or they're not accepting people, or the budget just isn't there, like I get it. I 100% get it. You can virtual tour these museums and you can pick a museum a week, and you can spend 10 minutes a day. And by the end of the year, you've gone to 52 museums virtually, and you've seen things from other people, other areas that are incredible, that are totally, wholly unique. You don't have to kind of sit and wonder, well, if I had the money. It's about time at this point. With internet access, it's about finding time and making the time, and then being gentle with yourself if you can't find any. You know, if you can't find the time and you still want art in your life, you want to live an artful life, look for art in public places. Look for free murals. A lot of banks and stuff sometimes put up art. Some grocery stores can put up local artists' work. There are some public places that will highlight different artists' stuff, and you can look and see what they are creating and producing. If you are interested, like our bank has art that's for sale. So there are like unique places and places you go on average that can have art, like the local library has really great art, and sometimes they do a quilt show at our local library that's really, really beautiful. I don't see enough quilt art and textile art, so that's always really, really nice to see and appreciate. There's just, it's there if you start looking. And you have to start training your eye. I'm going off the page at this point, aren't I? Start training your eye to look and see. Look and see the things that maybe you weren't receptive to before. And realize that there's tons of art out there that can be seen, that wants to be seen. You can go to local craft fairs and different things in your area. You do not have to buy anything if you don't have the budget. You can walk around and just appreciate and treat it like a museum. I mean, if you want to tell an artist you love their work, artists love to hear that kind of thing. Absolutely. But you don't have to buy anything if you don't have the money. It's not a pressure thing. It's just a walking around appreciating art in your local area from local creators. You can tell what I'm drawing now, can't you? So, those are some ways to do that. Now, if you are creating and you're working on art and it's not looking the way you want it to look, keep going. Always keep going. That is my biggest piece of advice, is just keep going. Just keep creating. Don't stop. There's nothing wrong with stopping. There's nothing wrong with taking breaks. I took all of 2020 off. The pandemic just was too much and very, very difficult. And we were trying to figure out, you know, homeschool things and life, and my husband working from home, and just, you know, if you don't have the strength, the time, the inclination, by all means, don't force yourself. This isn't a thing where forcing yourself is going to make it feel better. Don't force yourself on any one thing like that. It's not, art is supposed to be something amazing and incredible that you do for you. And if you've taken photos in the past and you thought, wow, I really like that photo, print it out, put it on your wall. By all means, put it on your wall. There are places that have, you know, picture framing sales once in a while, or they'll have one-offs where they've made something for somebody and the person didn't end up buying it, and so that frame is really budget. We've done that. We've purchased other people's frames that are sitting on the sales shelf because they've custom made it for someone who never picked it up, and they called them for a year and they never came. So we've gotten some really unique frames on our walls that I really, really like, that are kind of bizarre. We've let our kids pick out frames. I wanted to hang portraits of our children on our wall, and I wish I could show you, but they're privacy. And we let them pick out their own frames for their pictures. And they did such a really cool job. Like kids have just no fear of trying unique things. And the frames are so weird, and that when you put them together in like a 3 clump, it looks great. It looks really cool. Print out the art you take and that you love. Now, if you are taking like cell phone pictures, and that is the camera you have access to, there is nothing wrong with cell phone pictures. There are places online that will print those, that'll put those in books. Those books can get costly. I would say figure out if they have sales, call them up, ask them, you know, are you doing a Cyber Monday kind of deal, which is a sale we have, you know, after Thanksgiving for sort of preemptive Christmas shopping. Can you see it now? I'm going to give him butterfly wings. I love rhinos so much, but he's going to get wings. He just is. So you can do a thing. Sometimes they make home printers that print like Instagram photos. You could print a bunch of those, glue those on a board, and hang that up of a bunch of them all together collaged. You know, if you have a bunch, like I really like some of my photos black and white. A black and white thing of all different subject matters together in a grid is beautiful. It works even if the subject matters are wildly different, because they're all kind of black and white. So if you have some with similar like coloring or similar photo filters, that could be really, really fun to put on your wall. And again, you can go to places like the dollar store and get glue and get mat board. They do have picture frames there. Thrift stores. You can find really, really cool, funky art at thrift stores. Like secondhand used stores where people have gotten rid of their art. And there are a lot of artists on here that have taken thrift store art and painted over portions and made unique pieces. I can link some of those videos. You might have seen some. Some of those artists are really popular on YouTube. But you can kind of, if you want, go over somebody else's art, and if it's a landscape and you've decided it needs Calvin and Hobbes in that landscape, you can paint on top of it Calvin and Hobbes. There's no one stopping you. It's your art now. So you can add to somebody else's art, or you can hang their art on your walls. Or if you just want the frame from that art and maybe you want to reuse that canvas, it's a great budget way to keep creating and keep trying things with sort of gently used supplies, which is great to recycle for the environment. There are tons of things you can do. So if you are working on art and it's not speaking to you, realize that you can turn the page. You know, you can turn the page in your sketchbook, you can turn the page, whatever you're working mentally, like a mental page turn, and do it again, do it over, do something else. Like, you don't have to be married to your art pieces. They can just be studies, and they can just be fun things, and you could just keep working and going and trying and exploring and mash up favorite things. Like, I'm gonna do butterfly wings on a rhino. I happen to enjoy both. I like rhinos more than I like butterflies, but butterflies have really unique wings, so I'm going with that one. It's like, what is that? There's a thing. Hold on, let me find it. I found it. I'm putting it up. This one. I really like this one too. Make a list of things that make you happy. Make a list of things you do every day. Compare the lists. Adjust accordingly. Now, obviously, like things, paying the taxes, bills. I don't really like doing cleaning out rain gutters. Like, there's some things and chores and stuff that I'm not a huge fan of. You do them because they need to get done. But within that mindset, within that idea, if there are things you're doing and you're trying and they're just not working for you, if you've tried a new hobby and you're just getting frustrated, like sit in your feelings every time you go to try something new or you're working on something and see how it makes you feel. If knitting isn't bringing you the joy and the stress relief everybody promised it would bring you, maybe knitting isn't your thing. And that's okay. Knitting isn't my thing. I have great appreciation for it and I absolutely love knitted things, but I don't knit. I don't. That's when I have free time, I dedicate it to drawing or painting. Like that's it. And I have a finite amount and I've calculated that amount and I've adjusted certain things and made this a priority to be able to do this daily. And that means tightening up other things in my life. So like watching TV. We don't have a TV. We have a computer and we can watch whatever we want to watch on there. And that only happens after the kids go to bed and everything else is done. So within my list of things I have to do, if I'm not getting those things done, then I don't get to watch anything in the evening. And I want to watch something in the evening. I want to relax with my husband and, settle down and turn the brain off and have some entertainment and maybe laugh a little bit, learn some things depending on what we're watching. So I have to make sure of my priorities and remind myself why certain things are important, why I'm doing certain things, and adding the art I want to see in my life, making sure my kids understand and facilitating a love of art in their lives. Like they have very staunch opinions about the type of art they like, that they like to look at, that they like to explore. Some museums have free museum day. It is more crowded, so go at a weird hour. I would say either go first thing in the morning or kind of an hour before close. If some of them are open late, go at dinner time. There are some things you can do. If you celebrate holidays and people buy you gifts, you can absolutely ask for a yearly museum pass to the museum in your local area. For ideas, for inspiration, for hanging out, for bringing more art into your life. There are ways to do this, maybe save up for something like that. $1 a week, $2 a week, depending on what it is. Now, some places with really large cities, certain passes can get you into more than one place. I would shop around. I would ask around. You want these things in your life and you want to make them a priority and bring that enjoyment and that color and that interest. You can do that. Sometimes there's free newspapers and things at the library that talk about local events and free things going on, and some of those incorporate art. Some of those have art in them. You can see if there is like a meetup drawing painting group. You can check local pottery places. Memberships in pottery can be really, really pricey. Pottery is expensive, folks. But if you've always wanted to learn wheel throwing, figure out how to do that. Figure out who to talk to. Go to a pottery place, check prices, check sales, check individual pottery teachers, see if they do private lessons. See if you can go in with somebody and do like a half class. A pottery buddy helps save money. So, maybe you want to get into glass blowing or wood carving. There are tutorials for certain things, like if you want to start with like balsa wood or soapstone or just carving from like soap, bars of soap. Tutorials online, basket weaving. I've seen some amazing basket weaving tutorials on YouTube. There are some free stuff. Instructables has a bunch of really cool tutorials. I will link that webpage. You want to start making more things. If you don't hand out a lot of holiday cards, sometimes making them can be a lot of fun. You can start early in the year. If you send out a couple dozen, then start making, 3 a month and you'll be done. Oh, I hope that doesn't get too loud. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't want 2 minutes of ambulance going by. Thank you, first responders, for being awesome and helping us. I appreciate you. Anyway, so yeah, cards, little crafts. If you want to have a handmade holiday, that's something that you and your friends get together and you say, you know what, let's this year agree to one budget. Maybe you draw a name so you only have to make one thing. And you do a handmade holiday with like a limit of $10 for additional supplies, and you make something for each other. It's art, it's crafts. You can photograph it for a portfolio, for showing others, for listings if you want to make more, because that was so much fun. It doesn't have to be for money, and it doesn't have to be shown. That's something that needs to be said and said again. You don't have to show everything you make. I don't. You don't. You don't have to. Just because you make something cool doesn't mean you have to sell it. My mom makes some of the most beautiful beaded sun catchers I've ever seen in my life. And every time she gifts one, my kids all have one, I have one, my brother has one. They're absolutely stunning. They're so beautiful. And every time I'm like, you could sell these. You would make so much money. And she's just like, I just love making them for people. And that's just it. It's the joy of making and having an art-filled life and finding your thing. And sometimes it isn't the thing everybody else is obsessed with. So if you're seeing everybody drawing and doodling and you try it and it just doesn't speak to you, maybe your thing is cut collages. Maybe your thing is, fabric wall hangings. Maybe your thing is wire sculptures. There's so many things that could be your thing. There's so many things that exist in the world, and people do mashups and they do mixed media, and that, multiplies the amount of possible things that you can have and fall in love with and try. Again, budget is difficult. That's where it gets difficult. If you are trying tons of new things, save up money if you want to create different art. If you want to get into sculpture and you don't have the time and you don't have the money right now, grab a sketchbook and start doodling and drawing the things you want to create. Draw them from all angles. Try and figure out how big you want to go, what supplies you want to use, what colors, think about color theory, think about composition. If you want to start sculpting people, are their arms folded? Are their arms up? You can doodle some of this stuff out first before you get the budget for other things. That is absolutely a thing you can do. Pinterest is free. You can start a Pinterest folder of art you love, that you've seen in other places, that art someday you want to have as posters. Art.com has a ton of posters. Again, I'm not supporting any one place. That's just one that I know off the top of my head. They are expensive. They can be pricey depending on how big you want to go. But if you want to start a digital folder of art that you come back to, that you look at, that you like how they did XYZ. So you could have a folder of landscapes that you think is incredible and beautiful. You can have a folder of blues, and it's just blues that are used in paintings, and you like the color combination they put with those blues, that they use to make those blues stand out, to highlight the blue. It doesn't have to be a specific artist's blue period, like Picasso had a blue period where he did art, but it could just be different ways that blue is shown in snow, that blue is shown, like the blue dog. There's some famous paintings that are interesting where the subject matter is blue. And you can have a sort of digital library of art that you love that's also free. It's the same with like Instagram is free. If you want to start an account, you never have to post anything. That's not a thing you have to do. You can just go online and see what other folks are doing and look at art, and you can save art that's been created because you like how they tackled the specific subject matter, if you like how they combined two colors, if you start to have an affinity for pastels, and you just want to see the way other artists use pastels or create pastels or the subject matter, whatever. It's, again, your imagination becomes the limit with this stuff. Instagram's free, Pinterest is free. You can have them on your computer, you can have the app on your phone. You know, Etsy has an app if you just want to look and see what's selling, what's popular, what inspires you, what makes you want to get out and create. It's art-filled life can look like many things. It could be many things. There isn't any one right or wrong way to do it, as long as you have art in your life and it's making you happy. It's filling you with that joy. It's, you know, maybe looking at specific art brings you a sense of calm. Maybe it brings you a sense of energy. Maybe it inspires you to get up and protest and march on the things that are important to you. Like, art can be a lot of things to a lot of people. And there are ways to feel that and put that in your life, so your life is then enriched by it. Your life is then fulfilled by it. You are living the art-filled life. Now, I know 2024 is coming upon us soon. And I'll try not to remind you too many times or harp on it too many times. But there is still time. There are still days in November. There is an entire month of December. You don't have to wait for January 1st to start something new, to create a new habit, to add a new resolution. It can be something you start at the end of the year, because now it's the end of the year and you now have time to start something new, to add something else. For a lot of folks, January 1st is arbitrary. It's just a date. It can be any date you choose and wish to add things. So, feel free to do so for yourself, for those around you. You know, you never know when something that you do or have inspires someone else. And, you know, it doesn't have to be a family situation. It could be a roommate situation, and you start having art on your walls and your roommate falls in love with an artist or their art or that style, and it can change how they view the world, how they feel, the trajectory of their life if they want to go into art because it's just so beautiful and they just can't stop thinking about it. The art you can't stop thinking about is the art you should have in your life. That is the art you should hang on your walls. If it's important to you, if it makes you feel and it makes you think. It could just be quotations, like those two quotes I put up. There are certain quotes that just get me off my bum and make me want to do stuff. I can throw up a couple more that I really enjoy. And one's by Andy Warhol, and it's about creating and getting out of your own head in your own way and just not worrying about what other people think. I really like that quote. There's one by an artist that they drew. It's a real simple message. You should be drawing right now. I love that one because it really cuts to the point. Like, what am I doing? I should be drawing right now. It's the one thing I love. Why am I not doing the one thing I love? What am I doing instead? You know, if I'm playing board games with the kids, that's fine. But don't tell me board games aren't art, because there are some beautiful board games out there that are absolutely stunning. And if that's how you want to incorporate art into your life, if you love chess, there are some beautiful artistic chess games out there with amazing chess pieces. A friend of ours brought a chess set back from Peru on his lap on the airplane because he fell in love with it. He had never seen anything like it, and it is stunning. I don't have a photograph of it, but if you want to see unique chess boards and chess pieces, again, Etsy, there are some like handmade game spots and stores within that shop that you can check out. Art just comes in so many different forms. Maybe you've always had a thing for automobiles. You know, automotive design, industrial design is art. And when you look at some vintage vehicles with fins and, you know, split rear view windows and suicide doors and some really interesting elements, those vehicles are art. And maybe you're already starting to live an art-filled life and you didn't even know it. Maybe your body is the canvas and you are into fashion design. You are into clothing. You are into tattoos. You are into jewelry. Your body is also art. There's some beautiful watercolor styled tattoos that look amazing. Big fan. Again, that's really expensive. That's really expensive. That's very niche. There are certain people that are better at it than others. But again, you could go on Pinterest and you can see some really incredible watercolor tattoos or famous graffiti. If you're into Banksy, if you're into things outside. Some cities post mural maps where you can see the murals in their city. And that is something they do for tourism. So, there are ways to stay within a budget. If you are on a limited income, if you're doing a no buy or a low buy, if you are an extreme budgeter and you just want to see some art, you can create some. Every day, you can just squeak out the 5 minutes. You can start looking up and looking around and seeing which places carry art on their walls. A lot of like coffee shops in particular will have interesting art. Start looking at the walls. Some of them sell stuff. You could even consider selling some of your stuff at a coffee shop if it looked like the stuff they sell is on the similar vein as to what you do. If that is something you are interested in. It's a rhino. Oh, I love rhinos so much. I think they're amazing. There's just so many different ways to incorporate art in your life. You know, a magazine subscription is a great gift. If you're into like Architectural Digest, because architecture is the art you prefer to look at. There's so many different ways to go about it. Head to your local library, look for books, all the free books, all of them on all the topics that interest you. The how-to, not just like how-to books, but even when people plate food, it's not just making an amazing dish of food. Sometimes how people choose to plate the food can be art. I have seen some of the most beautiful salads in the world in cookbooks, and there's edible flowers, and there's all kinds of unique things going on, and it looks like art. It is something I would want to draw. It's something I would want to photograph. Like, it has all the colors. It can be just incredibly beautiful. Like cake decorating, that is a huge, huge art form. You know, people who decorate cookies and desserts and choose what kind of design and layout of the fruit and the icing and all the different elements that they put on their cakes. Like, all that is just incredible. And, you know, maybe desserts and sweets aren't your thing, and the New Year's coming and folks are cutting back sometimes. on sugars and food, but I have seen some plated pancakes that have looked absolutely stunning as well. So it's very much your imagination is the limit here. And when thinking outside the box and figuring out what is art, many, many things are art. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this video gave you some ideas on how to sort of ramp up the end of the year and squeak in maybe a couple more illustrations you've been thinking about or want to try, or maybe just loosely just scratch and test pens and swatch products. And sometimes doodling over swatches can be very, very interesting and dynamic and abstract and beautiful. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.